and welcome. I have to say to many of you, welcome back, because some of you have been looking at us here on Trinity Television and on our Facebook pages, Nonviolence TT, and on Trinity TV. Many of you have been following us for this entire week. We have been doing a 1 week show, reaching out to people through this medium on the topic of coping in COVID times. This is a non-violence begins with me platform. We are happy to be with you today, and we are progressing from the themes of the week that have gone. We started at the beginning of the week talking about personal wellness and mental health, and we progressed all the way through very critical topics on domestic violence and abuse. We talked about substance users and helping and supporting substance abusers and active addicts at this time. We looked at the family in lockdown. We spoke about befriending negative emotions like anger and grief and pain and sorrow and these things that come up during this time. And we also looked at a youth challenge of trying to keep the youth of our communities connected during this time of COVID. And that show you would have seen yesterday. Today, we pivot to a new, our final conversation and to a new demographic of people that we are reaching to. The demographic we are looking at today is men. We are talking about men, about the masculine male journey during this time of pandemic. And our topic today is Mandemic. Recovery map, a recovery map in terms of this pandemic. Sorry, just pulled a blank there. So we're talking about how we get on the road to recovery, not for addiction or for abuse or the other things we did during the week, but we're talking now about recovery from this pandemic. And what is a pandemic? All the challenges we see of this time with men. Now, as we talk about this, we are joined in studio today. We have a little bit of a different feel. We have no expert as such, like how we've had during the nights. In fact, we have many experts. The experts we have are all experts at living the life of a man. We have men on the call because we're talking about men. So I want all the men experts to just jump in quickly and introduce yourself to our audience at home.
All right. It's Father Mikkel Trestrail. I am a member of the Companions of the Transfigured Christ, also a member of the Nonviolence Begins With Me movement, and I am a priest within the Roman Catholic Church as well. Happy to be here to talk about this pandemic.
Thank you. Jess?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Jesse Barrow. My artist name is J-Wave. I'm a recording artist, and I've participated in the growth and development as men, but I've been a man for going on 34 years. So good to be here.
Nice.
All right, good day, everybody. John Michael Mida here. I'm from the Parish of St. Dominic's movement. I'm a youth leader. I have a ministry as well named Beautifully Broken, geared towards, helping the youth really navigate their lives through this time especially.
Hi, my name is Allan, Julian. I am married with 2 children. I can't put a date to when I became a man. It's still a work in progress, I think, becoming a real man. It's still a work in progress. But today, I'm somewhat representing the National Catholic Men's Ministry that the Archbishop has basically looked at the landscape and saw the definite need to have a ministry specific to helping men become the true version of themselves.
All right. And I am Brother Kyle from the Companions of the Transfigured Christ. And I'm here to be host to kind of just facilitate this conversation and the journey this evening. We want to get the ball rolling as we have in the last few shows with a little entertainment piece. We start off with a performance by one of our very own persons in the audience, one of the men in the audience here. As he said, he's an artist known as J-Wave. I want to introduce his performance at the Queen's Park Savannah at our peace rally, which took place in 2017 in the Queen's Park Savannah. The scenes you're about to see are not in a COVID time, so there will be no masks. But enjoy the performance. J-Wave singing I Must Be a Winner.
They tried to break me down, they tried to shut me down, they tried to take away my peace, my joy, my freedom now. But as usual, they yet to see me fall. The war's not over now, but now I'm stronger now. I am wiser now, look at my powers now. The more they try to stop me, I must be a winner. I must be a winner. Any winners here this evening? So call me a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. These walls were higher, these doors were closed. Now my view is from the top. Surprise how high I rose. Surprise how far I came. I'm ahead of the game. There was struggles, there was rain, there was pain to make you go insane. But I've got the mind of a warrior, so I must be a winner. I must be a winner. So call me a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. They thought I couldn't make it, thought I couldn't fly, thought I wouldn't be here, thought I would not die. But I've got news for you, baby. My future is blazing bright, yes, brighter than the sun and stars, bigger than my wounds and scars, wider than the earth from Mars. So I must be a winner. Let me see your hands in the air. I must be a winner. So call me a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. See, I don't know about you, but I'm a winner. I don't care what they do, I'm a winner. God would see me through, I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. I had to find myself, I'm a winner. I had to love myself, I'm a winner. I had to prove to myself, I'm a winner. So I must be a winner. Yeah, 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 yeah. I must be a winner. Feel free to stand on your feet if you're a winner this evening. So call me a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. I must be a, I must be, yeah. I must be, yeah. I must be, yeah. So call me a, you must be, yeah. You must be, yeah. You must be, yeah. Listen, I don't know about you, but we are winners. I don't care what they do, we are. God would see us true. We are winners. We are winners. Yes, we are winners. We have to find ourselves. We have to love ourselves. We have to prove to ourselves. Let me see all the winners here. Who took a stand for non-violence? Put your hands up.
Must be a winner. I know I can't do it like you. I know I can't do it like you, Jerry, but I'll don't try.
That was good. That was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Hey, I get the approval from the man himself, you know. So I mean, that's so groovy. Great job at the peace rally there, J-Wave. And thank you for your phenomenal gift. And as a man stepping forward and putting positive energy into the world, thank you. And of course, to all the other men who are artists there who try to do that through their talent. And so I know right away that I am scoring for John here, for John Mikkel, because I know that he himself is an artist in his own little right. You do some spoken word, right?
Yeah, I do a little bit of spoken word, sir.
Yeah, so we have people on the call here who talented, who using their gift, their time, their talents to be able to put positivity into the world. And that's a really good thing, and it is worth commending. So if you just joined us, welcome. Nonviolence Begins With Me movement platform this week. We're continuing on our show talking about coping in COVID times. And our topic today is Mandemic, a roadmap to recovery. Got it right this time. And we are looking at the impacts that the pandemic, but even prior to pandemic, life and stressors have on men and men's response and the way men carry themselves and the way we live and move. And so as we do that, we just want to bring in a little bit of a influencer here. You know, the whole thing now today is social media, and you have all these social media influencers. And we have a big IG influencer who couldn't make the show live, but committed his talent to digital media and sent us a recording. And we want to use that recording now. We want to show you a little bit of a message about men and this pandemic coming from Kivo, as we all know him, Kivan Lewis. He is an IG influencer, a comedian and a great talent. Let's welcome Kivo as he does a little piece for us recorded here.
All right, serious post. Men. Talking to men today. Quick question. Every man probably who plays sports knows that when you have an injury, it is important for you to go to sports therapy to recuperate that injured part of your body. If you don't do that, you will now go onto the field with an injury that is likely to resurface. You have to strengthen that area. Men, we need to see that same concept when it comes to our own traumatic mental issues. I'm not talking about being diagnosed. I'm just talking about the fact that there are things that we have been conditioned to believe, toxic masculinity, conditioned based on a traumatic experience that does not allow us to fix those things. And because we think therapy, in essence, is something men don't do, we have been conditioned to not talk about our feelings. We now put ourselves in situations where, because our feelings are now being brought to the surface and we have no ability to control them, we act out and lash out to the people we're supposed to protect. I am begging every single man to find someone. It doesn't have to be a professional, you know, sometimes, but it may need to be a professional. Find somebody you can talk to. An injured lion is a very dangerous thing. And when you put yourself in a situation where a man or a woman is attacking that injured part of you mentally, you have to defend yourself. That is a human nature. And when you try to defend yourself from that injured part, you can basically face the repercussions or the consequences of that situation if not handled properly. Men, protect the woman by working on yourself. By working on yourself, please. we are putting ourselves in situations where we know we cannot deal with it and think to ourselves that the only way I can defend myself is by using my fist or my words, or even using no words at all. Please work on communication. And I say this all the time. This is not just me talking to you all. This is me talking amongst everybody. I'm begging you, we are not doing what we're supposed to do. Find a new definition for manhood. Holding a liquor is not manhood. Driving the best car is not manhood. Being able to face your trauma, face your insecurities, communicate with the ones you love is manhood, or part of it. Taking responsibility for your actions. E plus R equal O. Event plus response equals outcome. Change the response. The events will always come. Change the response. Find a new definition for manhood and find a new way to deal with your emotions. Please, I am seeing too many things happening where men are lashing out. And I also ask women as well, comfort men. Don't baby them and try to be their mothers, you know. But when a man speaks, listen. Don't trivialize his emotions. Don't make him feel small. Everybody has a little child, a little boy, a little girl inside of them that needs healing. It starts with the child. But men, do better.
Okay, we want to thank Kivo, Kivan Lewis there for that great input. Thank you for that amazing message, that challenge that he put out, raising the issues in such a short time. Good job, Kivo. Thank you very much. I want to start the conversation going in this room here. Men, I want us to talk about what we just heard. In particular, I want to just start with John, and I want to ask John Mikkel to just say to us let's start at the top of that. He started by talking about the fact that, when we have if we have an injury in sports or something happened to us. So let's talk about the injury. Let's talk about the event. He said event plus response. Let's start at event. What are some of the events? What are some of the injuries that you identify with, or that in your own journey, in the journey of the young men you're dealing with, etc.? Let's talk a little bit about that.
All right, nice. Well, basically coming from the area that I come from, Mofa, right? We deal with a lot of these issues. And for me, when we're talking about the injury, I kind of, in a sense, sometimes I just blame society to it, because society does say to be a man is not to cry. They tell you, push out your chest, keep your head high, but what really going on the inside? And what we as men usually do is we internalize our emotions, we internalize the pain, we internalize the trauma, we internalize the guilt. And what that does is it eats away our being on the inside while we're trying to keep our chest high and moving along in life with those injuries, with those wounds on the inside. We don't realize that the more, again, when we're going into an injury, the more you go on it, the more you work on it. Let's say, you're playing football and you injure your ankle or whatever the case is. If you go back into it prematurely, there is that possibility of injuring it and making it become even worse. And that is what we do. We as men, we internalize everything. We keep everything to ourselves. We're strong enough to handle the world, But really and truly on the inside, we have it's like we're bleeding on the inside and no one really know. And when time does happen to come and catch up on us, then we explode as men. And this could come out in many different ways.
Nice. I like where you start the conversation there, John Mikkel, because basically, Allan, he is raising for us that very often we have an injury and we don't even say that we have an injury. We don't want to acknowledge it. We bottle it up inside. And he said we internalize the pain and we keep it inside only. What's your experience of that in looking at men, your own life, journeying with men?
Well, it's the truth. What John Mikkel said really is that we've been cultured, I want to say wrongly. We've been cultured in a way that it is almost inevitable that we get injured. And how Kivo had put it in terms of preparing, I mean, even looking at my football sport in life, that was one of my main problems. I used to be like injury prone, but it was because I didn't do any preseason preparation. So I running into season and competition. And even up to now, I'm playing over 45 and over whatever football that I don't prepare yet over whatever. Yeah.
You can say over 6 days. Okay, go ahead.
That I don't prepare before competition. So when I run in, I'm not just unfit. I'm most times halfway during the season, I'm injured. And then guess what? I have to play out the rest of the season. And the injury gets worse. And therefore recovery time is worse. And it's a cycle. And it's similar to what the man environment is. We've been nurtured and we've been formed to be macho, to be a rock, to show no emotions, to hide hurts, and to basically be an unresponsive human being to pain. And that eventually overflows into much more pain that we inflict on ourselves and on others. Hurt people hurt people.
Yes, excellent, correct. And hurting men hurt men and women and children. Yes, I just want to do that because I think important, Kivo talked about that the ones who we're supposed to protect, we end up hurting them. So what I'm hearing today is very much in line with the non-violence begins with me concept. I'm hearing that a trend is building here already that we are already saying one of the first things men have to look at is themselves. Because if you aren't able to first treat with you and your pain and be honest about your injury and your wound, if you don't begin with me, if I don't begin with me, then I will hurt others and I will not be able to help others. Jesse, you want to jump in on this conversation? Men have pain, boy, men have injuries, and we're not identifying them and we're not dealing with them. What are some of the injuries? What are some of the hurts, the pains that you see men go through that we internalize, as John Michael offered us, and we turn inside?
I have had to identify a lot of injuries or tragedies that happened to me as a child in my adulthood, and it usually happens in the company of others, as John Michael and Allan said, sometimes we just try to ignore it or self-medicate, or try to cure our own injuries. And I just keep getting this image of, somebody breaking the arm, and you just wrap it up on your own, and then it heals back. It heals, but then it's twisted. You still could kind of move it. You're not feeling any pain anymore, but it's not functioning to its fullest capacity, And I feel like sometimes, we have this false sense of overcoming a particular situation without dealing with it, head on, or just doing some self-medicating measures, And then when you come into company with others, people are like, how come this not affecting you? Or how come, you going through certain things? Or why are you so this? Or why are you so that? And you're like, but I'm fine, but it's affecting other people as you go along. So I've had to identify a lot of injuries. One of the main injuries for me was growing up in a fatherless home, so trying to become a male, trying to become a man, I had to kind of like really figure it out somehow along the way, And as Allan say, I'm still trying to figure it out,
Gosh, you're taking us into a major important area of the male injury in the Caribbean society and context and culture, the area of fatherlessness. I want to jump Father Mikkel in here because I know that whole theme of fatherlessness is something you could talk to us a little bit about. Is that a prevalent wound that we are seeing in men in Trinidad, in men in the Caribbean context? Is it something, and how does it show up? How does it affect? How does that injury affect the twist arm that Jesse talked about and we continue trying to operate with?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have to go so far as the Caribbean and the country. I could just look inside my own self, and I see the effects of the father wound, as we call it, and it shows up in different ways. In my life, my father was there, but then when I was about 12, 13 years old, he started to make an exit from our family. But in a real way, even there were even gaps in the growing up of the experience where my mother was the one in the home. She was the one who would administer all the correction and licks. Now I was the most miserable child, so I was the only child my father ever disciplined, and he just hit me one slap. It wasn't hard, but it was just so shocking that he actually did that I real cried. And I just have those kinds of memories of knowing that I needed something from him. He was there. He did a lot of good for me, passed on a lot of his good skills and so, but there were things I were missing. And so I know I was left a little wounded, you know. Looking around in some of my friends, however, I see where there wasn't so much a wound, but it was like a void because there was no father. I have friends who don't know who their father is up to now. I have friends who grew up in a very heavily dominant female home, and even though mothers try to be mother and father, as we say in Trinidad, the truth is a woman can't father, and so they grew up with that emptiness, they grew up with that void, and they have that space. So that's another way. And then there's just the pressure and the father pressure that some of us men, because of the absence of men in society, we are placed on this kind of pedestal that we must be like the rescuer, the savior for those kinds of situations. And we are put in pressure situations where we can't really live up to the plate. I know it even as myself in my ministry as a priest. I meet a lot of people who want a father, and well, because father is part of my title now, people expect that from me, but I know sometimes I don't have the resources. I don't have the what they are calling on in me. I don't have that. And so I feel that pressure sometimes. And that's like some of the ways that I have experienced the fatherlessness showing up in my life, but even in the life of those around me.
Excellent. I think that we are the place where we are talking about the fact that the injury sometimes is shaped right in family and right in our own homes, whether what the fatherlessness there, if the father void or the father presence was created a father wound in us, that ends up as a spin-off. It affects the way we live in our journey later on. I mean, I want to check, how many men on this call here feel like there was an original passing on of some kind of father wound or father injury in your journey from your dad? I would say yes, me. I see Allan, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and father, and well, everybody, no, everybody. When we are struggling with the father identity and the man identity and the masculine identity passed by dad to us, when we are struggling with that, what are some of the ways you all in your own experience find it shows up in behaviors or choices or even attitudes and mindsets that could be looked at as pandemic mindset, pandemic behavior, not pandemic, sorry, mandemic behaviors or mandemic choices or mandemic mindsets? Like, what are the illness or sickness ways of thinking, of feeling, of behaving that we see when the masculine identity is lacking, when the father work isn't happening as best as it should, or when that absent father is there? And I just want to ask each of us to touch maybe on one or two critical ones quickly. Let's just talk about that. I'll go back to John. John?
Right. So for me, I would say, being a leader in a sense. Actually, stepping into leadership as a man, being able to take control of certain situations in a positive way and not in a negative way. So I would say that is one of the traits or stuff I would look at in terms of that wound, as we would say.
Nice. Jesse?
Right. So one of the things, much like Mikkel, my father became absent in my life when I was about 7 or 8. And so I won't consider myself a physically absent person. So if I'm committed to whatever commitments, not just in relationship, but in friendships and stuff like that, I have the ability to be absent in your presence. And so that's something that that is a Mandemic trait. The absenteeism, just my own minds, it manifested. It's the same absenteeism, but it manifested itself in a different form. And that's something that I recognize I'm able to do, and that's something that I've been working on.
Excellent. Excellent, Jesse. Allan?
Well, I just want to say to Jesse, the term fatherlessness, not just the physical absence, right? But also the emotional absence, which the two are critical. As a matter of fact, I want to say even the emotional absence sometimes inflicts more pain than just physical absence, depending on how the absence is, if the father died or whatever. But back to what Kyle was asking, I have seen, that one of the key symptoms or traits of the broken man, if we want to call him that, is in thinking that sexual prowess, sexual conquering of women adds to his manhood and makes him more like a man. That's what a true man is. So he has the things that he can boast about in life are sexual trophies. And it comes from a very wounded place, because in many of these, they turn into child daddies. And what happens in those cases from the trophies is the cycle, it becomes cyclical. So they're not present at home really, especially emotionally. And I've seen that throughout my life, from small coming up. I actually had a father that was present until 13 years ago at home, stayed married, etc. He also had his wounds, but he was really present for the most part. But most of my friends, schoolmates at school, etc. And we saw, it's only when you get older, you realize, when you look at those who are very deviant, rebellious in school, who you'd call troublemakers, they're your partners, but always. And it's later on in life you learn that during school or so, father left, and the behavior was linked clearly when you check the timing. So I am just saying that is critical for Caribbean men, that sexual conquering as a trophy system to boost how masculine you are. And in doing that, it really opens the door for much further problems.
Yeah, boy, I want to say that is very true. I identify that struggle with the sexual wound in my own journey and life. And I thank God that somehow an intervention came to help me recognize and name it as an injury. Because at the time when I was not acknowledging that it was an injury and thinking that the sexual wound is not a wound, this is actually the norm, then I was acting just as you say, your hand bent, but you didn't realize that you're not really up doing the thing that is actually the best thing for who you are supposed to be and who you're called to be as a healthy man. So I want to thank you for bringing up that. I also want to mention that for me, one of the fallouts I saw in my own skill setting from fatherhood was this whole thing of time management. And it might seem as a simple one, but what a mentor was able to help me to discover is that my disrespect and lack of respect for people's time and my time and other people's time, and so being late for everything and having everything disorganized in that way, it was also a sign of some boundary issues that I had in my journey, serious boundary setting issues. And I remember earlier on, and I thought I could talk to you in any way and say anything I want, and you just had to take that, you know, aggressive and always reactionary. And then I began to realize from this mentor and spiritual director doing that work with me, I came to realize and discover that even those little things, a time management issue, from as little as that. So I want to bring it up because sometimes it's not always vices or deep injuries that make us realize we have a father wound. Something as not being able to keep a schedule and stay on time with things and respect other people's time. That was a wound in my, it was an effect of the father wound. And on top of that, I also saw this whole thing of boundarylessness. And I meet a lot of men today who struggle with their sense of boundary setting. And I want to say that what Kivo brought up in the video about our inability to keep our women safe, we are looking at it on the national landscape now, guys. We're seeing men beating women as they like. I mean, this is not new. This has been happening for a time now, but it is now becoming like public awareness number one, that if you have to beat a woman and hit a woman and beat your children with no kind of recourse, it shows a lack of boundaries, a lack of respect for the other person's personal space. And that is evidence of a father wound. I want to call that out and say that it is. Father?
Yeah, another one that kind of came up for me, especially two in the last few days. Family Feud had a question about, you know, what would a woman be afraid of about if she were to become a man? And one of the top answers was actually commitment. And I've been thinking about that since then. You know, that is really true. That sometimes our fears as men to commit, sometimes our fears to give ourselves completely in a relationship, in a family, to a job. You know, so many times we do interviews and we meet young men. And when you look at the resume, 6 months here, 3 months there, 1 month there, a year, six, you know, and it's just all over the place. And so commitment, stability, for me, I see is one of the other signs of this wound. But the other one I think that is showing up right now because of the pandemic, you know, as we said, you know, the pandemic is bringing out some of our struggles, is that, you know, the doctor was saying in one of the reports that a lot of people are coming positive with the virus and not aware that they have other conditions. And a lot of the people who this falls under is us men, that many times we don't care for ourselves, whether it be our bodies, whether it be our internal, our emotions, our mental. You know, we don't allow ourselves to accept help. I just have the image that Kibo kind of put out, the injured lion, put caught in the trap. And anytime somebody comes close, we begin to growl. You know, we begin to roar because we don't want anybody to come too close and to try to touch that area. And I think we do that on so many levels, our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health. And that for me is another sign of our struggle as men of the Mandemic, is that we are not willing to open ourselves to find out the truth about our pain, our weakness, and to get the help that we need.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Father, for introducing that there. And I want to accentuate the fact that you brought up health and our physical health and well-being. Very often men don't check themselves. They don't go for checkups. We don't go for checkups. We don't go to the doctor. We say, we rather talk to no doctor. We want to go by no doctor. We want to go to the hospital. And it's sadly so, a lot of the lives being lost, even in our country, the numbers are much higher, males than females. And what the doctors have been saying is that sometimes the men didn't even know they had comorbidities. They didn't realize, they didn't acknowledge something that they were feeling or dealing with as a comorbidity, so they didn't know. And so we have work to do there. Allan, I will take you for 10 seconds and we go into a clip.
Right, the 10 seconds. Something that we've left out that I've seen and is linked to what Father Mick was saying there. In terms of when we send out a job application for our company and so on, a job vacancy, 98% females. And when you talk, many of the young men talk, boy, me in business with them thing, you know, it's really, the truth is a fear of failure too. There's a deep-seated fear of failure that, boy, if I take that job, I fail or don't do good, you know what? I better well don't even try. I better not even apply for that in case of failure, because I don't go back home and say, I ain't get through. So it's better just don't go. And that has become extremely rampant in our country. One more second.
Your timing, boy. Well done, well done, well done. Well, we all working on the time management thing, unless the producer gets annoyed with me. I want to rush over to the clip at the Queen's Park Savannah. All the things we're talking about this week is because all of us want to see peace in this land. We all want to see peace, a non-violent way of living, and we understand that even in the midst of difficulty and crisis, there can be no peace unless it begins with you and with me. We're going back to the Queen's Park Savannah with a rally clip of all the artists singing, "We Want Peace."
Woo! Yeah. Come closer to the stage. Clap. TNT, TNT, TNT. We want peace. TNT, TNT, TNT. We want peace. TNT, TNT, we want peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. TNT, 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 we want peace. TNT, 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 we want peace. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and TNT, we want peace. TNT, 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 we want peace. Left, right, left, right. TNT, 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 we want peace. TNT, 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 we want peace.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
TNT, TNT, TNT.
Feel free to release it out.
TNT, 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 we want peace.
Release it out.
TNT, 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 we want peace. TNT, 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 we want peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. TNT, 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 we want peace. TNT, 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 we want peace.
So welcome back. You are watching Nonviolence Begins With Me's approach to coping with COVID. We're talking about the Mandemic today at the end of a week of series of trying to encourage people to cope in more healthy ways. The group of men here have shared about our own woundedness, our own brokenness, which none of us are saying that we are confessing we have perfected, but we are on the journey of healing, of restoring, as Kiva would have brought up in the clip. And so I want to ask the men now to share where their journey of healing, of restoring themselves, of kind of healing, vaccinating the pandemic has led them as advice and encouragement, a call to action to men watching. I'll start with Jesse. Jesse?
All right. One of the practical things that we could do, I've created somewhat of an accountability brother system. So I have a few brothers that their duty is to check in on me, every now and then, checking on my mental health, checking on my, spiritual health. So we found that type of dynamic where I could check in on them. I could, call them up at any time and say, bro, how are you going? Like, how you really going? Don't give me any generic answer. And I've found that to help over the years. I have a few accountability brothers that I've been really dedicated to for a few years, and it has definitely helped to help us to kind of stay grounded and to stay focused, even during difficult times. Should I go into another one or somebody else?
Yeah, just show the next one. Give us a 30-second run on the second one.
Okay. One thing I found that helps as well too is servitude and responsibility. Take up some form of responsibility towards either a younger male in society, and I found that helps you check your manhood when you actually take some form of responsibility and stay committed to that.
Excellent. Great, Jesse. I'm going to John Michael.
All right, so for me, again, going back on the whole thing that men aren't supposed to cry, right? What I tell you all, real men does cry. And what I mean by crying now, yes, physically let it out, but find somebody you could talk to, find somebody you could vent to. It don't have to be the whole world, it could be just one person you trust. Even as my brother Jesse was saying, just an accountability partner. Talk to somebody, talk through your feelings, talk through your emotions and your how you really feel, as Jesse said. And the other thing I would say is, in this period, I started writing a book, and one of the principles was how valuable decision making is, right? And to help with decision making, because all the wrong choices we make really come from bad decisions, right? And to help in this, what I developed was what I call a stoplight theory, right? Red, stop. Before, when you're feeling something, stop. Just take that moment out of the day to just stop. Yellow, analyze the situation, analyze the outcome. What would this do if I react in a certain way? How could this come out if I react in a certain way? What are the consequences that would happen if I react in a negative way? And then green, when you do find that that positive decision to make, that positive outcome, go forth in implementing the positive change or way that you would deal with the situation. So decision making is one of the biggest things, because I know emotions really just cloud judgment, and we as men, we just naturally react and we lash out, and that is where we get into problems. So stop, analyze, and then move forward.
I like that. Stop, analyze, then move forward. Nice. Mikkel, Father Mikkel, give us yours.
For me, making personal development a goal and a reality. And so that I'll share that as two in one, because that's real work right there. For me, I have had to at first accept that I wasn't my best self. And so personal development was a goal that I needed in my life to be the journey to become the better man, the best man that I could be. And then I realized I needed help. And that help came in different ways. Books crossed my path. If you're a reader, there's certain YouTube channels that you could check out on masculinity that will all be a help. And workshops. Healing the Father Wound workshop did a big work inside of my life, accepting my father's flaws and strengths, seeing them in myself, and then giving me a pathway to move forward. So doing workshops like that, and just working at your personal development every day, always trying to see how can I be a better man. And then the last aspect of that is to have some positive role models. Sometimes we need men around us who are positive role models. And I have those men that I turn to in my mind. Some are fictional, some are even real. And I turn to them and I remember their lives, I remember their stories, and I get strength and direction from them. So that's for me is all part of the personal development package, workshops, reading, and finding good mentors that you could model yourself after and try to become more like them, borrow from their qualities to be the best version of yourself.
Nice. Allan.
Well, I just want to, similarly to what Father Mick said in terms of mentoring, I think it's crucial. One of the critical symptoms and actually one of the critical wounds that has happened and responses is that men basically have nobody to speak with, really speak with. And that has caused, so they might have plenty partners, plenty men they could line with, hang out with, but those are not the men that would really help them heal. And part of my healing process, I want to say, and part of what has me on the road to being the best version of myself is finding, I think we need to find, if you're a husband and you're struggling as a man in that, and a father, find a good man who's married for a long while, who's going good with his family. Yes, they would have their ups and downs, but he's a good family man, still married, seems to be going good with family. Find him. Find that person to help guide you practically on how you should deal with stuff. I think too often the advice comes from those very wounded as well. And it's almost as, birds of a feather will flock together. We will just tear our wounds and downplay it. So that's one. And I want to say the second one is God has made us. He created us. He loves us. He knows our woundedness. Turn to the Lord and ask for help. It sounds simple, but we really need to ask God for help in our woundedness, and He will help us.
Mm-hmm. So our call to action for men is find accountability partners, find brothers who you could be cross-accountable to, stop, analyze, then proceed forward healthily. Seek personal development and make personal development a goal and an active activity of your life. And seek out a relationship with your higher power. For us, that is God. Seek out a relationship with something that is bigger than yourself that could help to shape your life, and look for mentors, healthy masculine mentors that could help to guide your life and give you second chance fathering in this journey of combating the pandemic. I want to thank all the men for joining us here on the show. Thank you, brothers. You are a great hope just in your presence here and your witness and your sharing. You are a great inspiration to young men and older men, maturer men. I want to thank you for joining us. And for all of you who have journeyed with us today and in the last week of this show, we thank you very much for all your feedback you've been giving us. Continue to stay on this journey of nonviolence. Begins with me, with each one of us. Let's do our work together, and we can come through this COVID time and even this pandemic being a healthier man, a healthier father, a healthier son, brother, a healthier family, a healthier community, and a healthier nation. So thank you, everybody, for joining with us. We'll see you on the other side of this.